So I'm just going to talk through the assessment outwardly Australian cinema. So it's um, about 10 references that we're looking for. So it's only 800 to 1,000 words. It's worth 30% of the overall course. So, it's a good proportion of your final mark. But it is only 30%, so don't freak out too much. It's due Monday the 22nd of October, so that's the Monday following the last class, just so you're aware. Okay, so what I want you to do is to go back to certainly the Ben Goldsmith article, which I gave you in week 2, I believe, called Outwardly Australian Cinema, and have a think about this quote. Over the last 20 years or so, Australian cinema's international relations in production and policy have expanded and become more complex, while those with Hollywood have been transformed. The boundaries of the national cinema stretch much further than the national territory. Australian production and post-production companies work in Australia with international partners or on international projects. Okay, what does that mean, and how do we even make sense of it? Now, the point of kind of the second half of the course has been that all of the films that we're looking at are kind of breakout films where stars and directors or whatever are breaking out into the international. Whether it be Jeffrey Rush's performance in Shine or Nicole Kidman in Dead Calm, Dead Calm's an interesting film because it's essentially, it feels kind of like an American film, even though it's an Australian film, and you've got, of course, everybody's favourite crazy Billy Zane. So what I want you to do is you kind of think about the films that we've been looking at and the conversations that we've been having across the lectures and in the classroom, and think about something that you could use to apply to Ben Goldsmith's idea of Australian cinema being very much about the international and international relations. Okay, so importantly, in this assignment, you will produce an annotated bibliography of about 10 references. Now, it doesn't have to be 10, but it can be up to 10. And you take one Australian film or star or director from the course to discuss how they position themselves both within and outside of the Australian cinema. Here you are to discuss the marketing and broader distribution of the film and star, in addition to ways wider ideas of Australian cinema is represented, right? So things you could look at is, like say you take Dead Calm as an example, right? So you could look at the marketing and advertisements, the trailers, the posters, the interviews, whether the film was an international co-production, casting of international marketable actors, use of international genres and subject matter and things like that. It goes on. Now, the point of, generally traditionally, when we look at an annotated bibliography, I say to you, go and get me 10 articles, right? And I don't want you to do that. Well, I do want you to do that. But what I want you to do is kind of think outside that, right? So the annotated bibliography, there's a whole PDF on Canvas for you to think about. It kind of explains through or talks through the very idea of what an annotated bibliography is. Basically, it has 2 parts. So you've got the reference details, so the bibliographic information, and a description and comment on the material. Now, this is the difference in this assessment to, say, most annotated bibliographies. In this assessment, say you're looking at something like Dead Calm, right? The poster, like you might want to look at the American advertising poster, right? That will count as one reference, right? And what I want you to do is actually talk to, say, the poster, really analysing it and talking through particular ideas of it. Now, you may find a more traditional article from a journal that you can use. You may find a video essay. You may want to use like the trailer of the film, right? So I really want you to be quite abstract and think outside, what you can actually do with the annotated bibliography. So up to 10, write about 100-ish for each one, a bit more for some, a bit less for others. And what each one needs to do is link to the very idea of the international that you've chosen, right? So with each reference, right, you need to talk about its aims and philosophical, theoretical basis, how it adds to the research in the field, its place in relation to the wider field of research, blah, 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 right? So that's essentially what I'm looking for. Now, the assessment criteria, and this is how you will be assessed. So, ladies and gentlemen, please engage with this. Originality and thought and expression in your work, right? How original are you in the references that you can use? Demonstrated knowledge of theoretical material and all terminology, ability to analyze and express your ideas, engagement with material and ideas analyzed, expansiveness of your approach, and demonstrated ability to do close readings of set audio-visual texts, and engagement with the issues relating to Australian international cinema and film culture. Okay, so they are, that's how you're going to be assessed. So I want you to get a star, get a film, a director, whatever it is, right, and really start to think about what sort of references can I use. You can use readings from the course, but you can only use up to 50% of what you include from the course, okay? So you need to use other things. So if you have individual questions about this, please email me so I can email back to everyone, because if you've got a question, probably other people have the same question. So be creative, have fun with it, right? If you have some fun with this, you will produce something that's really, really good. The reason I've given you an annotated bibliography as opposed to an essay is often I find with the essay, it's sort of becoming a bit of just an opinion-based kind of piece of writing. And I didn't really want that. I wanted you to speak directly to particular sources, advertising material, articles and things like that. Okay, so have a look on Canvas with the assessment stuff. Have a read of what the annotated bibliography is with that PDF, and ask any questions that you may have. And we all look forward to reading what you produce at the end. Okay, I'll leave it there. See you later.